and welcome to the second program in the 2024 series of Consciousness Central. I'm your host, Nick Day, and in this packed edition, we welcome back Don Hoffman after 10 years, with an update on what's been happening with his interface theory. We talked to CLAUDIA PASSOS from NYU about infant consciousness, which is a topic we're covering for the first time. And we catch up with Elizabeth KRASNOFF and her demo of binaural beats. And we talk to SAEGUSA, whose advanced meditation and transmission skills have been impressing the skeptics. All this and more in this packed edition of Consciousness Central. Welcome.
Am I the awareness in which the experience of the body arises and subsides? Noticing, once again, any sensation, any image, any feeling, any thought. Am I the body here? Or am I the awareness in which the body is a changing experience? The mind arises and subsides as thoughts or feelings or emotions. Am I the mind, or am I the awareness in which the mind arises and subsides?
So I would like to welcome back to Consciousness Central Don Hoffman, and Don was a guest of ours 10 years ago here at TSC. Just to introduce him, he is an American cognitive psychologist and popular science author. He's a professor at the University of California, Irvine, and he is a proponent of what is known as interface theory. Am I correct? Is that the right term for it, Don?
Sure, absolutely.
Just say welcome back. Thank you. It's very nice to see you.
It's great to be back here.
I enjoyed our first meeting. We first met at Deepak's thing a long time ago. His Sages and Scientists thing. You were on first, and I was on after you, and that's where we first met. We chatted a little bit in the green room.
That was fun.
And then I heard your talk, and it was like one of those talks that really sort of shifts you. You know, it shifts you. It moves things. Perhaps we can sort of update this.
Sure.
Talk about where you were then and where you are now, and how it's going.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know, 10 years ago or something.
It is 10 years ago. Yeah.
10 years. So that's right. So on the interface approach, we've made some progress. So back then we had simulations to show that natural selection in these simulations would not select for organisms that saw reality as it is. It would select for organisms that didn't see the truth, but just had the right kinds of tricks and hacks that could get them through life and reproduction. But since then, working with Chetan Prakash, who you just met, we got some real mathematical theorems. And so we were able to ask a technical question of evolutionary game theory. So Darwin's theory of evolution is now a mathematically precise theory. John Maynard Smith in the 1970s wedded game theory with evolution to give us evolutionary game theory, and then it's been developed by many, many brilliant mathematicians and so forth. And so we were able to use the tools that they've generated to ask a technical question. What is the probability that any sensory system of any organism has ever been shaped by natural selection to see any aspect of objective reality truly? That's a clean technical question. And the answer is 0% chance. And the first thing that I should immediately respond to an objection that I get all the time, and that is, Don, how could you possibly do this without shooting yourself in the foot logically, right? So Darwin's theory of evolution assumes physicalism. There are physical organisms that are competing for physical resources and physical mates in space and time.
Yeah.
And so now you're going to say that you use Darwin's theory to show that this is all just a user interface, is not the truth, so that physicalism is false. You're in an unfortunate dialectical situation, because either evolutionary game theory, the mathematics, faithfully represents Darwin's ideas, or it does not. If it does not, then of course you can't use it to do what you're trying to do. And if it does faithfully represent Darwin's ideas, then it couldn't possibly contradict his fundamental assumptions of physical objects. So either way, Hoffman, you're in a bad dialectical situation.
Yes.
Now, and I'm in a perfectly good situation because of the nature of scientific theories. And so that objection really misunderstands what science is at the core and what a scientific theory is. And so I will go back to real basics. What is a scientific theory? It's a set of assumptions, and it says, if you will please grant me these assumptions, then I can explain all this other wonderful stuff. But the theory doesn't explain its assumptions, it assumes its assumptions. So your theory, no matter what it is never going to be a theory of everything. It cannot be a theory of everything because it can't explain its own assumptions. It assumes them. That means that every scientific theory, if it's good enough, will have some scope. Most attempts at scientific theories are failures, and so they have no scope, right, of explanatory success.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you have a good theory that has a good scope of explanatory success, it's going to have hard limits. This is where my theory stops, and it can no longer explain. And even the basic concepts of the theory will have to be replaced by deeper ones that are the new concepts in the deeper assumptions. So there's two types of theories, successful theories. Good theories that give you the mathematics to explore their scope, and then great theories that give you the tools to find their limits. So here's a great theory, Einstein's theory of space-time. Einstein is assuming space and time are fundamental.
Mm-hmm.
He gives us this mathematics, which is incredible, world-changing. GPS is due to his mathematics.
It works.
And it works. But his mathematics also tells the limits of the very fundamental assumptions of his theory, namely that space and time exist. Well, that idea falls apart at 10 to the minus 33 centimeters and 10 to the minus 43 seconds. And how do we know that? We use Einstein's own mathematics as an essential part of the proof that the very concept of space-time that mathematics represents, the very concept of space-time cannot be fundamental, and it doesn't even make sense beyond 10 to the minus 33 centimeters. That's how science really works. A good theory gives you the tools to explore its scope. A great theory gives you the tools to find the limits. So even if you're an Einstein, your theories, if they're mathematically precise, can come back and slap you in the face and tell you that there are aspects of your theory that you didn't even understand, even though you wrote down the mathematics. But if you have only like natural language descriptions of your theories, then you don't get that advantage. So it can't come back and slap you in the face. It can't say, look at this mathematically precise prediction that you never expected, like black holes. So that's why we do scientific theories. And that's what I hope to see in the science of consciousness, are mathematically precise theories that come back and shake you and say, your mathematics now entails this. For me, it shook me when I always thought intuitively there's one at the top. There's one top consciousness, and this came back and said, no, there's an infinite number of directions to go infinitely far, and they can be incompatible. And that's a lower bound on how complicated this thing is.
Wow, we are blessed to have mathematics, are we not?
Yes.
And I often marvel at it, what it is. It's this sort of amazing way of representing, and it really only exists somehow mentally. There's no physical mathematics lying around. You pick up things, and it's here. Don, thank you so much. We'll let you get on. We've had a good long conversation.
Absolutely,
You've given us plenty of your good time, and I really appreciate it. So interesting.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for.
And I wish you well with everything. Obviously, we keep an eye on what you do, and see what comes along. And I'm intrigued you're working with Bernardo, and I'm glad you've come back to TSC because it's good to hear your perspective and your voice here. I know you get a few blowbacks here and there along the way, but
of course. I mean, that's part of science.
I'm always saying like, why Don's wrong, never mind. Part of science, or part of fun.
Yes, you have to have a thick
That's
skin.
the universe at play with itself.
That's right.
Great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Nick.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Neural
on that trip to the Grand Canyon, I finally got to the bottom of Roger Penrose's arguments from Gödel's theory.
Formulation starting with consciousness and then going to the brain, totally bypassing the half of
what might be the physical properties. And but of course, given my background with both Krishnamurti Bowman, of course, then I went into academic philosophy.
It doesn't matter. I'm walking up and down and going, are you conscious now? Are you conscious? You're not conscious. No, my machine's telling you, no, you're not. You're conscious.
He and I and Pradeep, right, were at the Quantum Mind Conference, was spin up this one in Flagstaff in 1999, and we were in a blues bar drinking beer, and the band was playing George Thorogood's Bad to the Bone blues, and one of us said, could a zombie get the blues? A zombie doesn't have any feelings, it can't enjoy things. Of course it's gonna be sad, but sadness is a feeling. So it was a paradox, and immediately we thought, we started laughing how funny it was, and then Dave, almost on the spot, came up with the first line. You want to sing it?
I act like you act, I do what you do, but I don't know what it's like to be you. What consciousness is, I still ain't got no clue. I got the zombie blues.
Yeah.
So I'd like to welcome to Consciousness Central Dr. Claudia Passos. Claudia is an assistant professor of bioethics. She's studied psychology at the Rio de Janeiro State University and earned her MA and PhD in the program of Human Sciences, Health Sciences and Public Health. She obtained her second PhD in philosophy at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. You are now at NYU. Welcome, Claudia. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So here we are at the Science of Consciousness Conference. Maybe I should add that you are married to David Chalmers, who is one of our superstars of TAC. So that's a wonderful thing. So let's talk a little bit about what you do out there in the real world, and then we'll see how we can sort of tie it to TSC. So what are you doing?
Yeah, so currently I have been working on a project on infant consciousness that connects with animal consciousness and artificial consciousness or artificial minds. So this current project is funded by Templeton Shared World Foundation. Actually, Templeton World Charity Foundation, just get the order of the name right. So it's a project that, so we're interested in what types of predictions theories of consciousness might have related to consciousness in entities that cannot give us clear verbal reports or clear indication about their consciousness. So animals are this kind of case, although if we have animals that are more close to us, we're more confident that they are conscious. But then if you go very far away from similarity with the human case, you might not be completely sure, and they cannot give us clear indication with verbal reports of the type of type of experience they might have. Infants, I will say in a moment, but raise similar question because they cannot speak to us. And the case of machines are cases where if machines become conscious in the future, we might not have clear evidence. So we still need to develop some ways to detect consciousness in this case. And I think I'm particularly interested in the infant case and how issues related to machines and issues related to animals might help in the methodology for the infant case. And then I will say a little bit about the infant case.
Sure.
You can interrupt me. If
No, this is good. We'll open it up.
So the infant case is an interesting case because different from animals that in the evolution we might not know which animal, which type of animal is conscious. In the case of infants, we know that at certain point we will have conscious experience during our development. So one interesting question is when? When does conscious emerge in development? Okay, are we conscious in very early stages of our lives? Are we conscious at birth? Are we conscious after 1 year old? So theories of consciousness tend to disagree and tend to have some different predictions of what type of behavior would indicate consciousness in early stages, what type of brain structures you might need, or what type of functionality in the brain you might need. So I'm interested in those predictions because I think the predictions help us to understand, or at least to try to reply to this question, when does consciousness emerge? And we also have the question of we might have the capacity for consciousness, but it still not be deploying this capacity. There is a huge debate related to fetal consciousness. Are we conscious in the womb? And if we are we actually deploying this capacity or not? So I see this question, the question about the emergence of questions of consciousness, as a question that can be replied in different ways. Okay, you have one question that is, which creatures have the potential for consciousness? Okay, so you might never exercise your capacity for consciousness, but there are creatures you might think, okay, this creature, if this creature develops in certain way, this creature will become conscious. So the first question is how you can, and I think this, it might be good to mention who come with this interesting distinction. So Aaron Sugar, that is always in the conference this year, and Liad Mudrik and Mitopoulos, they recently published a paper with the distinction between potential of consciousness and capacity for consciousness. And I think it's an interesting framework to think about early stages of consciousness. So one question is, what creatures have the potential for consciousness? Maybe in early stages of our applying this question to the infant case, in early stages of our of pregnancy, we might have the potential for consciousness, but might not still have the capacity. The capacity might emerge later because you might need some type of brain structure to become conscious. Okay.
Let's just tie this into some of the bigger pictures and, big problems, heart problems. And, here we are at TSC, and obviously really the purpose of the conference is to explore, science of consciousness and what it is. And how do you, you've been coming for a few years, and, you're put on your philosopher's hat. So where do you think we are in this whole big question? This 30 years of TSC, and so it feels, maybe I'm not 100% correct on this, but it seems as if back in the days, very physicalist approach, it's epiphenomenal consciousness, epiphenomenon of neural activity, and if we can only find the neural correlates, then everything's explained, and slowly that's sort of not really working maybe in the way they thought it would then, Christoph and his sort of project. And here we are now, and there seems to be a sort of a march through the sort of panpsychist realm, heading perhaps towards the idealist realm, that everything, the whole universe, is just one big mental activity, and we're just part of that. How do you feel about all that?
So I'm not a historian of the field, but but it's true we need one. Because so you're describing this picture. I just attended Bill Seeger's talk in 1 hour ago. And it was all about William James, that was just facing those problems more than a century ago, and also trying to come. So the conclusion of Bill Seeger's talk was James' approach of pure experience could solve the hard problem, is something that has this kind of more cosmological picture. You just mentioned. I see this in my work. what I just described to you, what I'm doing now,
Yeah.
I think is a reflect, something that is related to come to this conference, together with the other conferences in consciousness too, and be exposed to such a variety of perspectives in this field. And I think this has become richer and richer. Okay, so we have what we didn't have when we were in the. James has all these ideas that were, and I, as a psychologist, I'm doing most of my work nowadays as a philosopher, but I started as a clinical psychologist, and I read a lot of James. So I think there are some interesting ideas at that point, and some of them would require some type of empirical work to be tested. And I think we will make lots of progress in the neuroscience of consciousness more recently. Okay, with just, I think it's a collective effort. Having a conference like this just aggregates so many people to think about one problem, okay? And I think the hard problem forced everyone to at least be more careful and not make all sorts of inferences. Okay, this is consciousness.
Claudia, thanks so much. We'll call it a day. This has been
Thanks
great.
so
Thank you
much.
for sharing your thoughts and coming along today, and hopefully we'll see you at a future conference and follow up on all this.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to,
was great.
to talk to you.
Thank you. Here we are at the Science of Consciousness Conference 2024, and I have the great pleasure and privilege to be chatting with Elizabeth KRASNOFF.
That's right.
Who viewers of Consciousness Central may recall was one of our guests talking about the science and art behind binaural beats. And Elizabeth is here with her demo this year, and we just tried this out and it was amazing. So, but first of all, before we talk about that, let's talk with Elizabeth. And what are you doing here? What did you bring?
So this year, instead of bringing a talk, and I did bring the science in a poster, but I wanted to bring an experiential so that people could feel the technology for themselves. It's hard to talk about sound and much better to feel it. So I brought what I'm calling Binaural Beats Alpha Theta Silent Disco, because I use the technology from silent discos, which are wireless headsets that everyone in the room can put on and listen to the same music. So we can all lie down and be peaceful together and experience the binaural beats, alpha, theta, relaxation, integration, rest, and renewal.
Right, and I should point out that previous viewers may recall that you've done a lot of science on this. So yes, we do know there are lots of binaural beats out there on YouTube and available, but you have science behind what you've done. It's not just some sort of app or program. You've gone in there and worked out what's going on and done some neuroscience. Could you just describe that fairly briefly?
Sure. Yeah, I see a lot on social media about binaural beats, and a lot of people ask, are binaural beats real or fake? And I love when people ask that question, because it gives me a chance to say, binaural beats are a function of your binaural hearing. Binaural hearing is any sound that is not directly in front of you. And we use that really important auditory system in our brain to locate sound, auditory objects around us and know whether we have to run away from them or whether we can eat them. It's a very important survival skill. Binaural beats use those channels and use that technology to suggest frequencies to your brain in the 3 basic states of consciousness that we have. Rest is right in the middle. Sleep is our slow state. And focus is our fastest state. Now, I did my dissertation. I did the first PhD in binaural beats, studying the field, studying all the peer-reviewed journals. I wanted to make sure that everything was based in science and as much statistics as we could pull from the data. And then after I completed that, I went into the lab, SciTech Labs, on the campus of CIHS in Encinitas, California, and I studied my formulas, and I made them inaudible. In other words, the participants could not hear which tracks had the binaural beats formulas in them or not. they were also controlled and double-blind studies. So I did everything possible to see, is there any difference of when I listened to binaural beats or not? And we absolutely saw a difference in all of our measures. So this is both further evidence to suggest that we're seeing a very powerful tool that has no side effects, is inexpensive and easily accessible, and it's also a call for further research, for more frequencies, more carrier frequencies, and more applications for this incredible tool.
Right, and for people who are interested and curious and would like to try this for themselves, how do they do it? Where do they go?
Okay, so I have released a portion of my tracks on all my social media, which is Sound Medicine, and my website is sound-medicine.com. And then I've also made an exclusive app that has the full catalog, and that is called Sound Medicine Binaural Beats, and it's available on the Apple Store and Google Play.
Okay, so there is a plug. I should point out that we've just done a 10-minute session here with Elizabeth's headphones lying in this darkened room, and it really was quite extraordinary. It is both makes you alert and also relax at the same time. It does have quite wonderful properties. And let's talk to a few other people who have also tried out this wonderful technique. Jenny Simon. Jenny, what's your reaction to that? How's it feel?
Well, before I came in, I was having a little nausea and some vertigo, and I laid down for 10 minutes, and I have no headache, and my head feels really clear.
So how do you feel about that?
I love it. And also the music was beautiful.
Amit, you just experienced the binaural beats from Elizabeth, and how do you feel now? What's your reaction?
It was amazing. It was amazing. I feel more comfortable, more relaxed.
Jason, thank you. You just did the binaural beats thing. What was your feeling about that?
Well, it was a surprise. I didn't know we were coming down to do the binaural beats. So I sat there with my legs crossed and my arms crossed for a moment. But then as soon as the binaural beats started to sink in, I started to relax. And then eventually I laid down. My arms went out and my back started to, I could hear it creaking and like into place, and I was just feeling like very centered.
Sanjay, how was that for you?
I feel unblocked, grounded, and balanced.
Wow, that's great. Yes.
Awesome.
So before that you were blocked, you were ungrounded, and you're unbalanced, and now look at you. Now look at you.
I would just say that I was pretty good, but I feel better.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
You're always on the cutting edge, Nick. I'm honored to be here.
It's a pleasure. So I would like to welcome to Consciousness Central Hide SAEGUSA. Hide is a professor at the Indian Institute of Technology. He's co-director of the Consciousness Science Laboratory at the California Institute of Human Sciences, and he's a member of the board of directors and a research scientist at the Center for Consciousness Studies here at the University of Arizona. He's a spiritual teacher. I'd like to welcome you, Hide, to Consciousness Central.
Thank you.
You spent many years in India. What brought you from? You're originally from Japan, yes?
Yes.
So what brought you from Japan to India? What was the calling? What happened?
I was only interested in what is awakening, what is enlightenment. So India is a place for the spirituality. I was not interested in the Zen meditation, so I went to. Because a little bit difference of the awakening in Japanese Zen and Indian awakening is more bliss and nothingness. So I was drawn to this bliss aspect of awakening in India. That's why I went to India.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so when you got to India, did you have a destination? Did you have a particular teacher who you wanted to go sit with, or did you just?
No, I went to India to do the Hatha Yoga. And then I was drawn to the profoundness of the Indian spirituality. And I started to explore all the aspects, all the teachings, and all the spiritual paths that existed in India.
And then at some point you had some kind of breakthrough, some kind of moment of transformation?
Yes, on the 10th year I met the Zen monk who got enlightened in Japanese Zen monastery, and the very famous Harada Roshi awakened Zen teacher.
Yes.
And with the guidance from him, I was able to concentrate on the third eye for 3 months in a row and got awakened after 3 months.
So can you share with us what that was like for you, your awakening?
Yes. This teacher told me the essence of Zen is keeping the awareness 24 hours a day, and that is done easily through concentrate on third eye. From that moment, I started concentrate on the third eye till the moment I go to sleep, from the moment I wake up. Then I continued, and he told me, if you continue this for 3 months in a row without any gap, you will get awakened. Then I decided to do this continuously 3 months without any gap. And then I was successfully did it for 3 months, and I got that was my first experience of shifting into the pure awareness, pure consciousness, awakening of a pure consciousness.
What you brought with you from India and that you've demonstrated, I think, here and shared with people here at the conference and also 2 years ago, and I think we saw this a little bit earlier in the week, is a very kind of specific kind of transmission, some sort of it's a practice where you connect with people.
India has a long tradition of transmission of awakening. It is called Shaktipat or Diksha, and many scripture has been written, and since at least 1,400 years ago, they has been doing this. They have a tradition of transmission of awakening. And I received from my Indian teacher as well, and I developed myself 5 kinds of way to transmit my awakening to the hundreds of people in front of me. 2 years ago, I was just explaining about my ability, but Susan Blackmore insisted, if you're saying so much ability that you have, can you display here in front of the people? And I said, yes. And I did it for 5 minutes to all the people in the hall in my talk here. Then Susan Blackmore said she had the deepest experience in her life in just 5 minutes. And she asked me to talk together with her in her room, and after my transmission, 30 people came up to me and told me, oh, I want to hear more of your story. I want to receive more transmission. So I had to take them to another room and continue the transmission. So it was so sensational. I never thought it was my first academic talk was going to be so sensational. Since then, usually the spiritual teacher doesn't want to do this kind of transmission in an academic conference where there are so many skeptics and scientists. But I've been doing this. This is my 7th time. This morning I did it from 7 a.m. This is my 7th time I do it in the academic conference. Most of the people, including skeptics who never ever meditated, I could make them experience a glimpse of deep awakening.
Yeah.
I have been very successful in doing this.
Do you have any sort of idea about how it works, or what's going on, what's happening to people?
Yeah.
How is this happening?
Yeah, me and Dr. Stuart Hamerov has been doing scientific studies and experiment on the effect and ability of my Shaktipat transmission of awakening. And we found many cause, and we did the EEG study. Stuart was receiving my transmission, and Stuart put the EEG on, and I was able to synchronize my brainwave. My brainwave is very different from the ordinary human being. When I transmit, only gamma waves going to continue for many hours. And the usual life, it's delta and gamma together. Delta happens only when you are in deep sleep. So both of them are very unusual for a human being. And so we did a 10 EEG study with my transmission. And Stuart thinks when I transmit from the eye, he thinks that I emit photons. And photon, according to our recent studies, there's inside the retina, there's a cilium, which is microtubule. There, we are thinking that quantum communication is happening. Because when you look at the dangerous person, immediately you look the other way, that is a quantum communication. So this is, I think, Stuart is saying that through the photons, quantum entanglement is happening between human consciousness and the brain. That's why I could synchronize. And also, our team, Anirban, has detected that I'm communicating the information through the electromagnetic fields in an oscillation of kilohertz, megahertz, and gigahertz oscillation to the microtubule in the brain. Anirban has detected this mechanism, how people communicate with each other through the magnetic field as well. So we have discovered these two. And I went to the Stanford University and checked the photon emitted from my eye by my will.
Right.
So there was a big difference when I was transmitting. When I was not transmitting, the photon was very different. So first step of detecting the photon was successful. And second step, we want to detect the complete mechanism of quantum entanglement between human beings.
That would be profoundly earth-shattering science if this proves to be true.
And this is one way of proving the OR theory, or the quantum consciousness theory, because this is indicate a non-locality of consciousness. So in the conference, I tell everybody, now I'm gonna let everyone experience the non-locality of consciousness. So I'm gonna make you experience the validity of the OR theory, quantum consciousness theory.
Yeah.
So this is one. That's why first, initially, why Dr. Stuart Hammerer was interested in me was my this ability to synchronize people's consciousness.
When you went to Stanford, yes, you went to a lab in Stanford, and they must have set up a photon detector.
Yes.
And so you go into your transformative state, and the photon detector, they're picking up. Is there a significant shift?
Yes.
Significant okay. So statistically significant.
Yes.
Right. What? How can we quantify it? Do we have like a photon count per?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what that is? Do you remember?
I showed this in my slide.
Yeah.
When I'm transmitting, when I was not transmitting, it was a huge difference in the number.
Right.
Every day I'm filled with joy and happiness, and feel that I'm very lucky to be able to relate with these amazing scientists for the origin of life and the consciousness.
I'm sure we'll be checking with you in the future and see what you do and what you've brought to the table. It's really good. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you,
It's great
Nick.
to talk to you. So what's your name, please?
My name is Suzanne Gilder.
Susan, and where are you coming from?
I'm from Vancouver, BC.
Ah, Vancouver. So you come all the way from Canada. You've escaped the snow and come to the desert.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, and so is this your first time at TSC, or have you been coming here a lot?
This is my first time.
Okay, and what drew you here? What attracted you?
Well, I've got a background in AI and robotics, and I think the way AI is going at the moment, we need to start thinking more about consciousness and whether AI is going to be conscious eventually. So I came to learn all about consciousness and how we can apply it in the field of AI.
What is your name, please?
I'm Laura.
Laura, and your name is?
Jordan.
Jordan. Hello, Laura and Jordan. So could I ask you, what brings you here?
Sure, I'm giving a presentation in the time and cognition concurrent tomorrow.
Okay.
This is my 4th time at the conference. I'm a science writer and I love it.
Fantastic. That was going to be my next question, is like, how many times have you been here? So, and Jordan, yeah.
I'm here supporting Laura, and I'm just generally interested in learning about science and consciousness.
I'm Norm Brown.
Okay, Norm, and where are you coming from?
Actually from Northern California, the Sacramento area.
So is this your first time here?
This is my 2nd time at the conference.
Okay, which time was your first time?
The last one that was here in Tucson 2 years ago.
So you came in 2022 and you couldn't get enough of it. Here you are, you're back again for more.
Exactly. I found it fascinating. It was very interesting, and a lot of variety of topics that I'm interested in.
Hi, my name is David Field.
David Field. Hi, David. And is this your first time at TSC?
This is my 2nd time.
Second time. Which was your first time? Just curious.
I came the last time I was in Tucson in 2022.
Okay, great. And what kind of brings you here? What's your interest?
I am a filmmaker, and I am producing a documentary series about the nature of reality and consciousness. And it all started from a series of out-of-body experiences I had about 10 years ago.
Okay, that's very exciting. So tell us a bit about that.
Well, it was very weird. It changed my life. It was unexpected. It caused me to rethink everything, and it just set me on this quest to really understand this spiritual experience I had, but through science. I didn't want to turn to religion because I kind of grew out of my old religion. So I've just been interviewing rigorous, legit academians on just cutting edge science on what is the nature of reality, consciousness.
So what's your name, please?
Saliha.
Saliha? Oh, that's a great name. So, and where are you coming from?
Colorado.
From Colorado. Did you drive? You flew?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, it's quite a long drive, I think. So is this your first time at TSC?
It is. I've been wanting to come for many years, so I'm...
Fantastic. And what drew you? So you've known about it for a long time, and it's been on your mind, and this year was the year. So what was it that got you here?
Well, I finally had an opportunity to come, and so I jumped on it, and here I am.
Excellent. And is your background, or are you somehow connected to the wonderful world of consciousness?
Well, aren't we all?
Yeah, I think we are.
It's all there is, so...
It's true. All right, we can all go home.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's all there is. Yeah, we got it done.
Yeah, I'm just incredibly curious, and I'm an artist. I do very meticulous beadwork, and so I just started listening to interviews and sort of following rabbit holes on YouTube and podcasts and audiobooks, and learning so much from this independent study while I did my art. And it's just opened up this whole world of incredible beings and minds talking about this stuff.
And that brings us to the close of our second program of Consciousness Central 2024. I hope you've enjoyed it. Be sure to join us for the third program, where we talk to author and philosopher Susan Schneider about the promise and potential dangers surrounding AI. And we meet the new president of the Institute of Noetic Sciences, Thomas Brophy. And we take a look at the emerging connection between energy healing and quantum physics with practitioner Dr. Master Shah. Until then, this is Nick Day saying thanks for watching and bye for now.